The year is 1984. The Cold War is at its peak. Nuclear missiles are pointed at everyone. The Berlin Wall is solid, and inside the Soviet Union, life is, well, pretty quiet. They didn't have McDonald's. They didn't have the internet, and if you wanted a decent roll of toilet paper, you literally had to wait in a 3-hour line outside in the freezing cold. But deep inside, a gray, depressing office building in Moscow, a quiet programmer was about to change the world forever. His name was Alexei Pajitnov, and instead of working on top-secret military software like he was supposed to, Alexei accidentally created the single most addictive thing on planet Earth. No, it wasn't a new vodka recipe. It was Tetris, a game so absurdly simple, yet so hypnotic, that it almost brought down the Soviet economy before the West even knew it existed. Grab your ushanka, put on your boots, and let's dive into the crazy, high-stakes Cold War madness behind the world's favorite block game. Alexei works at the Moscow Academy of Sciences. His official job responsibility, testing brand-new, cutting-edge Soviet computer hardware. His actual daily routine, playing games, eating bread, and pretending to look super busy whenever a boss walked past his desk. One day, Alexei remembered a traditional board game from his childhood called Pentamino, where you fit different wooden shapes together. He thought, hey, what if I turn this into a computer game? But there was a massive problem. Soviet computers back then didn't have fancy graphics processing units. In fact, they had the computing power of a modern electric toaster. They couldn't even render a simple line or curve. Did Alexei give up? Absolutely not. He used text brackets crack on a green screen terminal to draw the blocks. And because the screen filled up too fast, he coded the blocks to disappear whenever a full line was completed. And boom! Tetris was born. Alexei handed the floppy disk to a colleague. That colleague gave it to another colleague. Within 48 hours, nobody at the institute was working. Scientists stopped running physics calculations. Secretaries stopped typing reports. The entire research facility came to a complete standstill because everyone was staring at green brackets falling down a screen. Soon, Tetris spread through Eastern Europe like a digital virus. People were secretly copying the game onto floppy disks and smuggling them across borders like black market contraband. It was everywhere. In Poland, East Germany, Hungary. Now, you might be thinking, Alexei must be rolling in cash right now, driving a shiny sports car and drinking fancy champagne. Well, welcome to communism. Under the Soviet system, private property didn't exist. Your ideas didn't belong to you. They belonged to the state, which meant Alexei received exactly $0, 0 rubles, and 0 cents for his creation. Enter Robert Stein. Stein was an energetic British businessman who happened to be visiting a software institute in Hungary. He saw a programmer playing Tetris. His eyes instantly turned into shiny dollar signs, and he thought, if I bring this game to the West, I'm going to be richer than a medieval king. Stein immediately wanted to license it. But there was one tiny detail he completely ignored. He didn't actually own the rights. He didn't even know who created it. So he sent a hasty telex message to a mysterious Soviet state-owned licensing agency called Elorg. Imagine Elorg as a dark, dusty room filled with heavy mahogany desks, chain-smoking Soviet bureaucrats, and terrifying portraits of Lenin on the wall. But they had absolutely no idea what a video game was. Stein assumed that sending a telex meant he had permission, so he went ahead and sold non-existent rights to Western companies. Suddenly, mirror versions of Tetris were being manufactured for home computers in America and Europe. At the same time, Robert Maxwell, a massive British media tycoon who literally looked like a villain from a James Bond movie, bought what he thought were the worldwide TV and console rights. Atari thought they had the rights too. Spoiler alert, nobody had the rights. It was a massive house of cards built on top of miscommunication, greed, and Soviet bureaucracy. And then came Hank Rogers. Hank was a charismatic game publisher living in Japan, working closely with Nintendo. Nintendo was secretly getting ready to launch a revolution, a tiny handheld system called the Game Boy. Hank knew that to sell this little gray box to every adult and child on Earth, it needed one specific game: Tetris. Realizing the licensing situation was a total mess, Hank did something completely nuts. In February 1989, without a formal visa, without an invitation, and without speaking a single word of Russian, he hopped on a plane to frozen Moscow. Picture this. Hank Rogers walks right into the intimidating headquarters of Elorg. He is ushered into a cold room, sitting across a table from 10 stern-looking Soviet officials, corporate lawyers, and literal KGB agents watching his every move. The head of Elorg looks at Hank and says, "Why are you here? We never gave anyone the rights to put Tetris on home computers or handhelds." Hank pulls out a physical Japanese copy of Tetris published by Atari and shows it to them. The Soviets look at the box, look at each other, and realize Western corporations had been selling millions of copies of their game around the globe without paying the Soviet government a single ruble. But Hank stayed calm. He explained how Nintendo worked, proved he was honest, and offered them a legitimate deal with real cash up front for the handheld rights. After nerve-wracking negotiations, the Soviets agreed. Hank signed the deal, landed the exclusive worldwide handheld rights for Nintendo, and avoided getting sent to a Siberian gulag. Even better, that night, Hank met Alexei Pajitnov. The two bonded over video games, drank plenty of vodka, and became lifelong best friends. Nintendo bundled Tetris with every single Game Boy sold in the West. It wasn't just a hit, it was a global phenomenon. Business people played it on planes, kids played it under their bedsheets with flashlights, and parents played it on the couch. Game Boy sold over 118 million units, largely thanks to Alexei's addictive puzzle. 2 years later, in 1991, the Soviet Union officially collapsed. We can't officially prove that Tetris caused the fall of communism, but hey, the timing is pretty suspicious. With the USSR gone, Hank helped Alexei relocate his entire family to Seattle, Washington, and in 1996, the original 10-year rights deal signed by the Soviet government finally expired. Control of Tetris was handed right back to the man who built it in that dark Moscow lab. After 12 long years, Alexei Pajitnov finally started receiving royalties for his creation. So the next time you're packing your luggage into a crowded car trunk or organizing your bookshelf like a pro, remember to thank Alexei, Hank, and the wild Cold War craziness that turned 7 falling blocks into the ultimate gaming legend.